Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to episode 41 of Monorail Memoirs. Today, we are saying if you are Disney CEO for a day, what are you going to change? We're each going to go through 3 things we would change if we were Disney CEO. Before we do that, though, Lauren, how are you?
I'm a little bit tired today. It's been a long week at the gym, but I'm good.
Is this you doing your high rocks? Because you're a hybrid rock star.
Two
Hi.
classes a week, may I add?
Do we get 2 classes a week? Is that it?
Well, 2 high rocks classes, and then I've got body conditioning and I've got fit box.
High rocks, because you're a hybrid rock star. Oh, Lauren. Oh, dear. Moving swiftly on from what is expensive circuit training. Today we are talking about what you would change if you were Disney CEO for a day. There's the only barriers to this is it has to at least be broadly reasonable. You can't just say we're gonna build 2 new parks overnight. Like that's not gonna work. But Lauren, I'll let you go first. Top of your list, what are you changing as Disney CEO?
Fixing Genie Plus, changing lightning lanes, the whole reservation and paid service system.
Expand.
So I understand that that's a biggie. But for me, it is just the biggest bind that I have with a Disney holiday. So for a little bit of context, you need to have the app in order to book what they call lightning lanes that you pay for, and you get to skip the queue essentially on quite a lot of the bigger attractions. Some of the littler ones, like you get some for very, very strange attractions that you probably don't need a lightning lane for, but that's by the by. But you're only allowed certain ones. So if you've got kind of like a big one, you can't then stack it with another big one. It's all very complicated. I don't even understand it, and I love Disney because I refuse to pay to have that service because it used to be free. So I want to overhaul the whole system, make it free again. Yes, fair enough, we might not need physical tickets. I do get that we are in the 21st century. That's by the by. If you want to stay technical, then that's fine. You can do that. But I just need it to be free. I need some sort of perk to come back. I just hate the system.
It's funny you mentioned that. Number 1 I had on my list was actually, because obviously we're British, right? So it's important for us. Number 1 was going to be get rid of the France Pavilion. But actually, I'm kidding. We don't have any French listeners, but if we do, c'est la vie. I actually said get rid of Lightning Lane. Fix the whole thing, right? Because
Absolutely.
I actually think that Lightning Lane it has become a focal point for what is effectively the nickel and diming of your guests.
Yeah.
Whether it be parking now being $35 a day if you don't stay on the resort, Lightning Lane costing upwards of $25-$30 a day per person, depending on what park you're in, what time of year it is. I think it's representative of nickel and diming all the guests. So our number 1 is aligned, which is basically fix Lightning Lanes. You don't have to call it Fast Pass if you don't want, but bring the old Fast Pass system that allows people to actually go in there, enjoy their day, and schedule it in a much fairer format than what we've got right now. Our number 1 was basically aligned by getting rid of the France Pavilion entirety. Lauren, your second thing you would do then if you were Disney CEO for a day?
Yeah, so this one I was thinking about it, but the parking's a bind for me. I think that $35 a day to park in somewhere where you don't have the option to not park in. It's not like you can park 10 minutes down the road and walk there. If you're going by a car, you have to park in the Disney parks, like the car parks. And for $35 a day, they're just instantly, like give me your wallet sort of thing. It's not like welcome to the magic, we know you've paid a lot to be here, but welcome, it's magical. It's like give me the money and then you can see the magic. And I'm like, what?
I get it. There is a way, of course, that you don't have to pay, which is either be an annual pass member or no. Being a being a DVC member does not give you automatic rights to park. But if you stay on a Disney resort, you don't have to pay to park. Of course, so when we go down in April for the springtime surprise races, you will be receiving that benefit solely because I'm driving. So Arctic VG for you. Although you are on the insurance, so be prepared for me to have a few drinks. And you, have you ever driven in Florida?
I have, yes.
It's less fun. I was gonna say, no. I thought if that was like your first time driving in America, I was gonna be like, enjoy that one. But you don't have the I-4 to contend with. You just have, of course,
thank goodness,
just Disney. I mean, we will be doing extensive coverage of us waking up at 2:45 in the morning to get ready to do the Springtime Surprise Races. Oh, my second thing, though, if I was Disney CEO, what would I change? And this answer's a little bit woolly, but there's a reason behind it. It's fix Tomorrowland. And what do I mean by this? The best thing in Tomorrowland, as we know, is the Carousel of Progress. Outright, best thing, no questions asked. However, I know that Buzz Lightyear is getting an update. Fine. People Mover is always a bit of a classic. Great. But we discussed Stitch's Great Escape is empty. Monsters Inc. Laugh For is all right, but is of its time. That is a space that fundamentally needs to be utilized better. I think the stage that's next to Space Mountain has children's shows. Like, the whole thing needs redoing. There needs to be a coherent theme, and that's one thing. It's rare that I will compliment the French, as per our early discussion. But it's one thing that Disneyland Paris got really nailed down, because they took the Jules Verne idea of Tomorrowland. They didn't call it Tomorrowland. They called it something else.
Discoveryland?
Yeah, something like that. The idea being that it is a retro-futuristic version of the future. It was what Jules Verne, the French novelist, it was his idea of the future. So it was ships that were almost blimps and could fly, and so that meant you were able to do a coherent narrative, because you weren't actually trying to keep up with this idea of tomorrow. It was a version of tomorrow that was stuck in time, and that's fine. I think fixing Tomorrowland, apart from Carousel of Progress, obviously, fixing Tomorrowland would be my second thing I would change. It's too incoherent and needs some sort of thread to run through it. Maybe actually futuristic. Maybe you do the retro-futuristic thing. You take almost a Fallout style approach, which, even though happened hundreds of years in the future, is stuck in the 1950s with the styles, the things, something like that. That is my second point. Which brings us. Go on, please comment.
No, yeah, I was going to say, I really like that, because I personally feel like Tomorrowland should have stayed the Tomorrowland that the older people thought we were going to get. You know, rather than trying to keep up with the times and trying to keep up with technology and all that sort of stuff, because it's just nigh on impossible. I think it should have stayed the vision that they thought tomorrow was going to be.
Yeah, I'll buy that. I'll buy that entirely. I'm not convinced that we aren't in a place where we could go back to that. We could go back to a 1970s view of what the year 2000 was going to look like. And I think it would actually work. You would get criticisms of people saying, well, it's not Tomorrowland. But if you accept that it is trying to capture a moment in time of what the future looks like, it could be there. If anyone's interested, if you watch Tomorrow's World on YouTube, Tomorrow's World was a BBC TV show. It ran for quite a few years, but it finished in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s, and it was predicting the technology of the future. And some things they nailed on. On-demand TV, basically Netflix, right? They predicted that. Fantastic. Other things, wildly off. One of my favorite ones is that any surface of a wall in a house you could use to charge devices. So you would just go and just stick your device on the wall and it would stick and charge. That hasn't come to be. Tomorrow's World. Which moves on to our final points then. Lauren, your third priority, if you are Disney CEO for a day, what are you changing?
So this one's a little bit tricky, and I don't know how it would be done, but just something around the capacity of the parks. To me, they feel too crowded. I feel like it sounds backwards, but they're letting too many people in. And I know that that's not good for profits. I know that's not good for, you know, letting everyone in and blah, blah, blah. But I think that the guest experience would be markedly better if they actually let less people in.
Yes, but this is what the Disney have used as the argument behind the above inflation price rises year on year. People's biggest complaint: there's too many people in the parks. So what do? We price people out of it. I mean, if you came up with another way of doing it, that's a different conversation. But until then,
I know, and I know that it wouldn't make any business sense, and I know that you would lose loads of money, and people would fall out with it because they can't get into the parks and yada yada yada. But I just genuinely think that they aren't, either make them bigger or make less people go in that space because I don't know, it takes away some of the magic for me when you're elbowing and shouldering through the crowds. You can't even see anything. I remember, I mean, I know that a lot of this is about nostalgia, but it is about memoirs, whatever. But I remember when you could look down Main Street and just see the castle, and you could see all the shops. Whereas now, buggies are all over the place. People are running you over. There's like 10 different photographers going up Main Street, so you can't get a full view of Main Street. And yeah, I don't know, it just, for me, you lose some of the magic in the battling of the crowds. And that's when people get hot and frustrated and angry. And
I do think that, and perhaps this is a post-COVID realization, I don't know, I do think that people are less thoughtful of others nowadays. And so you do get the buggies running around everywhere. You do get the Main Street gets so busy and packed. It's difficult. And actually, in one of our early videos, we said if you're going to watch the fireworks and you're not bothered about getting out early, stay in Tomorrowland. Great views. It's a bit weird, especially if you've not seen it from Main Street, because your fireworks are to the right, but the castle's to the left, and the audio's all around you. It does still work, though. It does. So no, I agree. I would love to find a way to limit capacity without charging an extortionate amount of money more to just price people out.
Yeah, I know. And as I say, it's not like a thought out idea. It genuinely probably couldn't happen. But for me, all of my answers have been about the guest experience, because that's the perspective that I'm coming from. And I just think that it would be miles more enhanced if we were able to sort out the capacity issue.
That's fair. No, I understand that as a third option. My third option is around communication and transparency. I understand there is a fiduciary responsibility to shareholders to make sure that you maximize profits within reason, etc. But if you're gonna axe a project you've already announced, tell us. If you're gonna axe a project like Mary Poppins ride in the UK Pavilion, great example. Just disappeared. Just went away. All these concepts are gone. Like, I have no issue with coming up with an idea, running it to ground, and going, actually, we either don't have the money, or it doesn't fit with the theme, or we just fundamentally don't want to do this. That in itself is not a problem. The problem is the lack of cancellation announcement, the lack of transparency, the lack of communication to us, the consumer, that, by the way, here's a list of things that we thought we were going to do, but for reasons, and if you don't want to go into them, you don't have to, but for reasons, X, Y, Z, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, you're right. I've never really thought about it before, but some ideas that they kind of put out at maybe D23 or, whatever, they just kind of fizzle out, and they're like, oh, what idea? No, that wasn't a thing. Like, they just kind of completely expect you to turn a blind eye to all these ideas that they bring out. I've never really thought about it before, but you are totally right.
Lauren, as you discovered in how old are you? 29. In your 29 years of life, I'm always right. So this isn't news or a surprise to you. But I agree. I think that openness and transparency is important because it keeps consumers on side. And granted, if you are a first-time attendee or you don't care about Disney, you're not going to know this was ever a thing. So it doesn't matter. But for the rest of us who Disney, I would perhaps put only Apple as the other company in the world that has the same fan base and affiliation. And even then, that's a stretch, I would argue. But in doing that, you're expecting these people like ourselves to shell out thousands every single year to keep coming back. The least you could do is tell us what's going on.
Yeah, keep us updated. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I wouldn't be mad if they were to say, oh, turns out we can't do this idea. You're like, oh, well, that's a shame, but thanks, rather than just like, oh, yeah, that idea that you announced at D23, like, where is this at? And they're like, oh, yeah, no, what idea? I don't know what you're talking about.
No, exactly. Please let us know what thoughts you have if you were Disney CEO for a day and what you'd change. I think the highlight for me in this conversation has been that we'd replace the France Pavilion with a car park. Happy days. Tick VG.
That's free.
That's free. take VG, move on. But please do let us know. We've got links down in the section below, but please let us know in the comments. Until next time, thank you very much for attending, and please stand clear of the doors. Bye, everybody.
Bye.